In this video, guys, what are some subtle clues to look for that the market is potentially changing mood or sentiment? Stick around. Hey guys, warm welcome to you. Thank you for joining me. All right, so market moves and rhythms, we know this: uptrends, consolidations, downtrends, backfills, expansions, exhaustions, this kind of stuff. And you know, our job as a trader is to preempt this. You know, if we think the market's going to range expand, want to try and get on board it and kind of buy it. If you think it's going to consolidate, then maybe we kind of look for exhaustion moves and trade mean reversion type stuff, or we step out of it completely. So what are the signs potentially in the market you're trading that the phase is changing, the mood is changing, the rhythm is changing? Now, it's going to be very much dependent on the market you're watching, of course, but if we're talking about something like the indices, easy place to start. So indices are good, I think, because you have a definite open and a definite close of the underlying market. Yes, of course, they trade 24/5 in a lot of places, but you know, the most action, most of the time, or the most volatility, and when they're kind of most active, is during the stock market open. So what does it do at the open? You know, if we, and also it's looking, and this is why I'm a big fan of being a specialist and kind of learning the market you're trading. But if you aren't, you kind of go back and see and say, what's it do at the open? A bull market, very often we get a little bit of a dip at the open and buying coming very quickly. So what about, do we start changing that? Does it start dipping and holding at lows and very small amount of buying coming in? So maybe, you know, as you're open, you normally get this kind of move and we're off. You know, does it do this? Does it kind of peter out and just sort of sit here a bit? That's more interesting. That's not necessarily hammering to lows, not complete reversal in sentiment, but something's happening. So what does it do at the open? Does it drive, does it change the way that it behaves? Now, you're not going to get this all the time, but sometimes you see a theme running through that's started to change slightly. I'll give you an example. Tesla, a while ago, I identified that, you know, we kind of, a lot more selling was coming in the penultimate hour of the day. And it was kind of the weakest hour of the day. And I've got this kind of tool that helps me judge that and guides me into that decision or into that idea. And that stagnated Tesla for quite a while. And then that disappeared and it started going again. So, you know, sometimes there's little these subtle clues. So you've got to be in tune with the market and looking at the market. So how does it open? That's a good one for indices. Number two, what does it do relative to VWAP? Okay, one for the indices and stocks. So if your VWAP is, you know, like here, most of the time in a bull market, the market's always going to spend the majority of its time above the VWAP. You know, and that's a good indication of the strength coming in. But what about if it's mixed? What about if it starts spending 50% of the time above, 50% of the time below? Say that quickly. And that's indicative that maybe algos aren't so keen to buy it when it's under a VWAP, because you think about how an algo works, a standard VWAP algo, they perceive value when price is below the VWAP. That's why in bull markets, whenever we get kind of excursions on the VWAP, they're very often bought quite quickly, because a lot of algos are going, hey, we've got a value here, this is going to be good, because it's going to look like we've beaten the VWAP for the day and we're trying to accumulate stuff. So you can kind of think multiple moves ahead here and say what's actually going on. So if the market's spending a lot of time below VWAP, then there is a lack of presence of bullish algos. And again, I'm theorizing here, guys, you know, this is just from observation. You might disagree or agree with me on this one, but that is not a bad metric. The three is, does it sell off in the final hour? Real telltale sign this. Not necessarily the final hour as well, but maybe the penultimate hour or the hour before that, the afternoon session. Does it do something unusual that becomes a pattern? This is key. If it's constantly selling off in the final hour, that might not be enough to turn a bullish market into a bearish market, but it could be enough to stagnate things and make you go, hey, maybe I don't want to buy so aggressively at new highs. Maybe I want to back off a little bit. Maybe I want to wait just to see if we kind of take out some lows. It's just these little subtle telltale signs and clues that sentiment is changing, that something somewhere isn't quite as one-sided as it once was. So those afternoon sells are quite key. Number four is, how does it respond to prior key levels? This is a big one, especially if you're in a bull market, it starts making a kind of a bearish candle, a deep bearish candle, one day gaps up. How does it respond to that? Does it kind of sit at that level? Does it immediately V-shaped reversal, indicating, you know, pent up demand? How does it respond to highs? Does it kind of just glide through highs, or does it reject highs straight away, indicating potentially people are taking profits? It's this chess game of looking at all the pieces on the board and going, okay, it looks a little bit different now. Now, generating a trade out there from that is another kettle of fish. It's another scenario, another thing completely. But you at least start to align then and go, hey, you know what, conditions are changing. There's an obvious change to sentiment and feel here, and I'm witnessing this in XYZ. Open, the VWAP, the sell-off in the final hour, responding to key levels. So I'm going to adjust my strategy accordingly, whatever that may be for you. Final thing is what happens after big day. So I guess I kind of alluded to this before. If you have a big day, a big selling day, and a bull market, you'd expect it to be bought pretty quick. But if it's kind of, you know, not necessarily being bought and it's holding, and maybe it's getting a little bit of a rally at the open, then failing or retesting, and doesn't necessarily mean it's the end of the bull market by no stretch of imagination. We're not looking to kind of find big trend changes here, just little subtle movements in the middle of a broader theme. So, you know, if there's a big bull market in equities, for example, that doesn't mean you can't have, you know, a week of pullback or a week of consolidation that you can trade off, but it's just spotting maybe subtle changes within a broader trend. And so seeing things like this, what happens after big days, big red days, do we get a kind of immediate buying straight away, or does it kind of sit there? Does it sit near a moving average? Does it do some work below it? These little subtle clues, and you start to pick up on all these clues, all these ideas, all these responses to key events, and make a theory and go, hey, you know what, it looks like the buying is not as aggressive as it was. Maybe I need to be a little bit more cautious with my levels. Maybe I need to be this, maybe I need to be that. So something to think about, guys. What are some subtle clues the market is changing mood sentiment? I've got 5 for you there. What are yours? Add them in the comment section below. Take care. See you next one. Bye-bye.